Go. And we are live. Hi, everybody. This is probably an Unearthing Darkness, since we are going to talk about records that just came out of the box, sort of. On the other side of this conversation is Charlie, the Crypt Keeper of Crypt of the Wizards in beautiful London, just across the pond here. Charlie, how are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Very nice to be here.
Yeah, very nice to meet you in actual, not in person, but you know what I mean.
Close enough.
We've been talking for about, I don't know, 2-3 months now, about one order and about a lot of other things, about life. And we decided to, put up a video or to make a video about the order I did at your shop. And then we'll see where we get. Yeah, first of all, thanks for doing this. And second of all, I would be remiss to not tell you that Peter said hello from Alkadil.
Hey, Peter. How you doing, man?
He's great, actually.
I've got a new record coming very soon.
Have you heard it?
I haven't. I'm waiting for the vinyl.
Okay. I do that too sometimes.
Yeah.
I wait for the vinyl.
Well, especially because otherwise the listening list would never end. I have to have some logic to it. And obviously with some stuff I want to hear before I buy it because I'm buying it for the shop.
Yeah.
But with stuff I know that I'm definitely getting in, I just wait, because then when it arrives, it's nice. I put it on, So.
Like a ritual.
Yeah.
I sometimes have records that come in that I've been waiting for a long time, and then just put it off a little bit longer. Just
yes. Sometimes that can go on for fucking years. Actually, the pile of stuff that is to be listened to is obscene always.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
No.
I think you have a lot of people coming over to the shop that have that problem.
Yeah, I have a lot of problematic customers.
I tried to unite them under the Record Collectors Anonymous, but so far there's no bites. We'll forget with that. Yeah, this is the second location for the shop, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. This is sort of more than just second location. It's kind of, it's like two eras. It's like its namesake, Mortis. That was Crypt of the Wizard Era 1. This is Crypt of the Wizard Era 2.
Yeah, I was going to go into that because I looked up what the shop could mean, and of course you end up at Mortis. I was thinking about, was it Mortis, but then the black coffee, the dark arts coffee, you just mentioned that it was Mortis. So you had an interview with him, I saw.
Sorry, say that again.
You had an interview with Mortis not that long ago.
Yeah. Well, when we first opened the shop, there was a group of friends throwing names around, and I don't know why I thought of Crypt of the Wizard. I had that tape when I was younger, and it sort of stuck in my mind, and I just thought it was a name people would remember, and when walking down the street they'd see it and whatever, and it would stand out. And so when we announced it was called that, I got an email straight away from Mortis.
Okay.
It's going to be like a cease and desist. And he just said, I love the name. And then about another couple of months after we'd actually finally opened, he just turned up one day. He was here playing, but I wasn't expecting him to come. And he was so nice, and then came back a few more times, did a signing there. That was mad. But yeah, so he's sort of like our little, he's the shop's spirit animal.
He gave his blessing.
And I said to him, like, I hope you don't mind us taking the name. He said, oh no, I nicked it from somewhere, but I can't remember where. So who knows what the true origin is.
It's been too long. Yeah, he doesn't seem like a guy who would, put a cease and desist on something like that. I think his heart is still in the right place.
100%. Yeah, he's the real deal, man. And he's really interesting to talk to. He can tell a few stories, because he was, part of the first wave of really underground sort of stuff coming out of, he was in Emperor, and he was part of all of that. But he was also kind of a rock star for a while there as well. I mean, he got big, and so he's had sort of the range of experiences you can have to some degree in underground music. So he's got a few stories to tell. You know, he's an interesting guy.
For sure. I saw that they have some live stream event coming up with the original lineup of Emperor, 25th of May or something like that. So that should be, if they can pull it off, it should be interesting. And I think they can pull it off because they have the chops to do something.
For sure. Yeah.
Looking forward to that. Yeah. I my plan was always to visit the shop because we had I think I told you we were going to come to the Lugubrium Alcalilturia show. I think in the beginning somewhere of 2020, March.
Yeah, that's right. The original date for it was March 2020. That's right. Yeah.
I have the poster, but my eyes are not that good that I can read the date. I think 21, but I'm not sure.
The poster's actually up in the cafe next door still, but yeah, I can't see through the wall.
Yeah, I can't see through the wall. Okay. Yeah, we were going to come for that show, and then because it was the perfect time to come to London at that point. But yeah,
would have been great.
Would have been great, but yeah, that was still the old location, I think, at the black store, not the white store.
Yeah, would have still been there, I guess. That's a good question. What year is it? 2021. So actually, no. So the old shop closed in December 2019 now.
Oh, okay, so I just would have missed it.
And I moved over here, which is like, you know, a stone's throw away from the original shop. Same street, same side of the street. It's just real close. And that was in like January 2020. And so I was getting the shop ready to open, taking my sweet time. And then, you know, the pandemic hit and that stopped in its tracks. And really, I sort of stopped building it out as a shop pretty much straight away and started just using it to pack records. And
because you know what was up at that time, or
I mean, it was just stuff was selling online. We were told we were going to be at home for 2 weeks or whatever, you know, and then it started. But people started ordering quite a lot of stuff almost instantly off the website. Crypt of the Wizard Era 1 did not have mail order. Kind of the idea behind that shop was that it was a physical experience, you know, and there was good things about that and bad things. And obviously the bad thing was that the turnover just isn't high enough when you're expecting people to walk in and buy, especially when you're starting to sell quite obscure stuff. So yep. The stock was quite different. A lot of the stuff we sold was more, you know, old school classic metal, plus new, like, good underground stuff, and just trying to get that balance right where there was kind of something for everyone across the subgenres and whatever. And we had a lot of fun doing it, and it was functional to a degree, but no mail order. Now I look back at it, we were crazy not to do mail order, because obviously it's, you know, it's a good way to keep things moving and turning over quicker.
I think it had a charm, like you said, just the physical experience of going there. That was what drew me in the first place. Just, you know,
sure.
that little black hall filled of awesome stuff. I still remember. I've never been, but I can picture it. The Venom poster at the yeah. It was like this pilgrimage to that little shop in London. So it had its appeal, but I can 100%.
And that was my motivation behind doing it as well. Was that, I mean, I've grown up in London my whole life, and London's it's not what it was, and that's fine, but there were things that I miss, are the things that made it unique, where there were streets where you would go, where there were great record shops, great you know, weird bars and all sorts of things which you could seek out. And it feels to me like the streets are just dying, you know. It's just the same chain shops and whatever, and to have made some little mark on London in its 2,000-year history felt significant to me as an inhabitant of the city. And I just wanted to do something, meant something to me, and meant something, sort of had some sort of impact on the city. And no, there hadn't been a metal shop in London or in England really, but in London definitely for like 20 years. There was a very famous metal shop in St Anne's Court called Shades, and I caught the very tail end of it when I was a kid. But in its
Okay.
heyday, you know, every band that came through London would do their signings there. I've got a Metallica record with Cliff Burton's signature on it from Shades.
What time period are we talking? Mid 80s?
Yeah, and then into the 90s. But that's when, by the end, it was kind of, you know, it wasn't really, they weren't putting the effort in, and then it went, and then, but you know, legendary shop, fantastic shop, really interesting history, and yeah, so it'd been a long time, and I thought the timing was right, and we had a good few years over there in the black shop in Era One, but anyway, so January, I got the lease for this place. I opened the web store straight away. And then 3 months later, we're in a pandemic. So, Christ, thank God I'd got the web store up and running and really moving and stuff. And then the orders have just piled up, and it's just got stronger and stronger and stronger as it's gone on, which meant there was almost no time to do anything else. So I forgot completely that this was ever going to be a shop, and it just became a packing warehouse for the last year. And now we're allowed to open again. So desperately, I'm scrambling to get this place ship shape again. So it's getting there, nearly there. Another week probably. And
yeah. When are you opening up?
Say again, sorry.
When are you opening up officially?
Yeah, probably another week.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 2, and it'll be ready. And there'll be some restrictions in place, but it's small, the new shop. So
okay. As a follower of the shop or of the label, I should say, I noticed that the focus went a bit from more, I would say, older material or classic material to maybe a underground distro that kind of picks globally, that has links to Go to War Egg, that has links to Overuse, all sorts of labels. That was deliberate, I think, to maybe narrow what you are offering to the people, but you know, to in that way claim your spot in the world of metal or in the world of underground London. Was that a conscious choice, or is that the way it went?
it was very conscious. It stemmed partly from my experience with the old shop, seeing what worked and what didn't work, and also my desire to the Era 2 shop would not be something that referenced the past. Like I talked about something like Shades, where I kind of wanted that classic metal shop.
Yeah.
It was painted black, it had candles and stuff, and there was the records you would hope to buy in that shop would be in there, you know? There were Venom records, there were Motorhead records, and everything sort of, you know, from that early era, then new stuff that's really interesting. What I wanted to replace that was was a much more modern metal shop that was very culturally relevant, that was really sort of looking for the sort of vein in the fat of what was interesting about contemporary metal. And I thought, for one, there's no point in me stocking stuff that you can buy from 20 other places. It's just not, there's no point. And at first I thought that meant, you know, those classic records, but actually I'm starting to find more and more that means a lot of stuff that people may even still consider underground, like the new Cannibal Corpse record. There's no point in stocking it. You can get it from 10 other places in 10 other colors, and most of those places will be able to sell it cheaper than me because they do not have a physical shop in London. So what's the point? And also, you know what? I don't care what Cannibal Corpse's new record sounds like, because
they'll probably sound like Cannibal Corpse.
Right, and you know, God bless them, and I'm sure that's there for someone, but it's not for me. What drives me and what makes me interested in what makes me get into the shop every day excited is what's new, what's coming out tomorrow, what's come out today, what new bands are doing what new labels are doing what. That's interesting. So I remember when I was closing down the old shop and I was doing this massive stock check, and I was like, I can't dedicate this much of my life to sell fucking Slayer records. It just doesn't do it for me, because there's what's relevant about that to the sort of contemporary music scene. To me, nothing. It doesn't mean I don't like putting on an early Slayer record every now and again, but I hope that makes sense. But so that's the sort of definition. So very, very consciously, I wanted to follow, like you say, it's almost like I follow labels more than I follow bands. And there's new labels popping up all the time, some of which are really interesting. And you try and cut the wheat from the chaff, because some labels, they can get the aesthetic really right and whatever. But if you kind of start listening to the releases and they're not so great, you take a bit of a gamble. And then also a lot of it came from fostering some really strong relationships with those labels. Some came very naturally, some have been worked slowly. And I want, and now I'd say, I don't know, 90% of the stock you can only get from me, especially physically in a shop. I mean, I'd say physically in a shop, like 95%. But like, there's a couple of other distros that have popped up in the UK, especially during the pandemic, that have got quite strong. And I'm very happy they're there. But I wanted a place where pretty much most of what you can get it from me, and that's all. So
yeah, I don't think I know any other, especially in my neck of the woods, like Belgium. I don't think there are any comparable record stores that are so niche, but it's also because of my interest. Because if I look at the wall behind you, there are records that are A, in my collection, or B, should be in my collection. Just because, it's, you say you follow the vein, or the veins and the fat, and that's what it is. It's like the labels, like, for example, again, Go to Warwick's, are very curatorial. And if you are the curator of those curatorial labels, then you get the best of the best, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's kind of what in my eyes, that's kind of what Crypt of the Wizard is. So.
Yeah, it's definitely what it is now. And also I think it's kind of hilarious to try and run a record shop only selling like really fucking obscure underground stuff that no one's heard of. I mean, I reckon a lot of people are going to come back to the new shop who've only ever seen the old shop, and maybe somewhat put out. But I've also got a much healthier secondhand section than I used to, and there's loads of stuff in that probably would never make it into my main stock if it was new. But that's a good space for classics and all that kind of stuff. And I've got Maiden records in there, and whatever. So there's a bit of something for those kind of buyers too. But I'm never going to sell new Maiden records. It's just not. It's not really.
Not as a business model, it's maybe not wise to have this niche metal shop, but
See, I think it's the only way to make it work. I think a metal shop that just sells, a bit of everything from all the big distros isn't. I don't see it having enough business. What works much better is buying 5 copies of some fucking ridiculous tape from a Belgian distro, from a Russian distro, whatever, selling them out immediately, and then keep on getting new stuff all the time. That, I can tell you, for having done both, this version of it works a lot better. Comically, it's quite funny.
Yeah, it is funny, but more and more people are discovering those records, are discovering that there is not just first wave black metal, that there is I mean, the root structure under what black metal has become is gone insane. As to what comes out, you say what gets you in the shop is new releases, and I think that will keep you in the shop until your pension. I mean, it's on and on and on, keeps on going.
It's crazy how much new fucking stuff comes out all the time.
There are some days that I just have to shut my brain off, because in my brain I have this huge spider web of that release is there, that release is there, and someone like you actually helps, because I can just look at you. I mean, I can look at the web page or the store, and I can say, oh, that and that, keep it for me, and I'll ship it over when it's a big box. If I have to keep in my head all those releases separately, I mean, I'm going insane right now. So that would be.
I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to keep it up for. Sometimes I wonder if there's like a point I'll wake up and I'll have just forgotten everything. And
I sometimes think about the day that I, like you say, wake up and then I say, like, fuck it.
That's an interesting point. I mean, how long you can collect records for. at what point do you just say, you know what, I don't need any of these, they can all go? Who knows? Maybe it's when you're like 80, but you got to let them go someday.
Yeah, my burial is quite large, so.
You say that again, sorry?
My burial plot is quite large, so.
That'd be a really good thing to do, is just a funeral pyre. Just you and all your rare records. Just go up in smoke together.
One big black smoky ghost that goes up.
But one of the other things I focus a lot on black metal as well is that, one, it's my interest. It's what I grew up on. I've always been, a big fan. But also in London there is Misako and Oho, which is a fantastic record shop and record label. Really great distro with a real focus on death metal, and we have quite a close relationship. And with the old shop, that was great because he would bring in stock. But while we've both been in lockdown, there was no point in me doubling up on the stuff he was distroing from his distro, because I kind of was like an online distro for the last year. So I've kind of stayed away from a lot of that. Once the shop opens again, I will start probably having a lot more of his stock flying through the shop again. But for the time being, it didn't seem worthwhile. So my focus has really been on underground black metal for partly for that reason, and partly because it's just what I'm interested in. And it's hard to be really. I don't know how those record shops that have a bit of everything do it, because I don't have the bandwidth for more than one genre really.
Yeah. I'm not sure either. I think they're all a bit mad. Is it? Did I imagine it, or are you in the same building as La Vida?
No. He's not far away, but it's like a 15-minute drive. No, he had a record shop next to him called Low Company that was really special. Just a totally unique record shop.
Yeah.
The kind of shop I would go into and not know one record.
Okay.
And they'd say, "Oh, you're that guy who runs the metal shop. I've got something for you." And they'd give me some banging techno record. I'd be like, "All right."
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they've closed. But they were kind of one of those shops. They said, "Oh, we're only going to be open for 5 years," and then they were, and they did it.
Oh, okay.
They closed down. And but I think they'll leave quite a long shadow because there's no one else doing what they do. It was really unique. I think they'll be massively missed. And Paco's next door to them in his place for La Vides and Mus. And again, I stock La Vides and Mus records. I've got my little punk section growing now. I really want to stock more punk and hardcore stuff, primarily because there's just such a good scene here in the UK for that stuff. I like a lot of it. I'm not particularly knowledgeable, but there's La Vides and Mus, there's Static Shock, and there's Quality Control HQ, and those three labels alone. There are others. There's like Fuzzbrain Studios as well, put some stuff out. But with those three labels alone, I can have one of the best punk sections most record shops can have, with just flying stuff through them. So that was my plan for my punk section, and that's how it will go. So
good plan.
Yeah, I mean it's worth representing, Whereas the last shop we were very strict about only metal, we wouldn't have any punk records in.
Not to go too literal or something, but it's like, in a way, the old shop and the new shop are day and night. Like the black shop, the white shop. It's quite because I think Crypt of the Wizard came on my radar because you dealt with Occulta, the German duo band, and I still am into them. I'm hoping for a new record because they are incredible.
You don't hold your breath.
No, I don't think so. But I remember the picture when they were outside of the old shop, and I was like, "Oh, God damn it, I need to go there." So that was the first visual aspect I had on the shop.
They're an extremely important band to me, Occulta. Not only do I love them as a band, but as people as well. Really fantastic friends, and I've told them whatever they're working on, I'm here to be a part of it. It took them 7 years between the demo and the album, and I know, what's that, 4 years ago that album came out now, maybe. and they've got one new song, so uh, there'll be an album one day. But I like the pace they work at. They're in no rush, you know. They want, and when it comes out, it will be great. And one of the best live bands it is humanly possible to see in this day and age.
They are truly amazing. Yeah, there's something special. When they came out, for me they came out of nowhere because I think I didn't hear the demo, and then all of a sudden that whole one was out, and it was like they were everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you said if they put something out, you would be here. Crypt of the Wizard is also a label. Are putting out records. I think you have about 9, 10, maybe a bit more releases.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right. There are a few that I know that I listen to, as for Gold, for example. One band that I had the pleasure of seeing live also. The Sado Magical Seducer is one that I particularly love. The guy behind that one, I was actually, right before the record came out, I was talking to him. He's Canadian, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Just to have my facts in order. I was talking to him because we were looking for my label, we were looking for something to release. And he said, yeah, I have something, but then it came out a month later on your labels.
Oh, right. He was really busy at that point. He had Hexen as well.
Yeah.
He had I'm not going to be able to pull him out. He had some stuff on Iron Bonehead. He had a slew of really, really, really good releases.
Was one of the Shazmu was one of the biggest.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is still an incredible record in my opinion.
Yeah. And I would have loved to have been able to work with him more. I was trying to a lot of the time, but I was definitely running before I could walk with the label at that point.
Yeah. Which is what labels do. Beginning underground.
It's good to know. The thing is, like, I really felt like a label is very complimentary for a shop because it gets the name out in a different way. You send your stock to a load of other labels, they send you stock in return. You know, it works really well, but you do need to be able to siphon off cash from the shop into the label, and that was proving really, really tricky. And some of the releases, I'm following my nose, but as much as I love that record, it didn't sell that well.
That's the problem.
Because it was pretty niche, and you know, I probably pressed a few too many copies, which is quite common, I think, at the beginning. So there was a lot of TV problems, but you know, I stand behind all those releases. The Night Terror stuff, I really loved that band. Really, really good, primitive, caveman-y, evil metal, you know. And then Gold was another big one. Where did you see them?
Temples.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was there. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. On that tour.
Yeah.
I
think last before they shut it down. I only went once, so
me too.
Last time.
And they headlined, right?
I don't know if they had one.
They headlined that stage anyway. Yeah. I remember that was good fun, man. That was good. I was doing the merch table, and I hadn't organized any of the t-shirts. I remember there was so many people trying to buy stuff, and I was like, I lost the plot completely. But that was a really fun tour. Gold. When I first encountered them, they were a two-piece, and they were playing downstairs in a pub on a night that this guy Wayne Adams had organized, who has a recording studio here called Bear Bites Horse, but he's also in Pet Brick, and Lady Scraper is his like famous gabber thing he's been doing for years. Yeah, but Pet Brick with Igor Cavalera from Sepultura, so that's blown up. So he's doing really, really well. But he used to promote nights, and Gold were playing down there, and it was just drums and bass, and them doing these sort of chanting vocals. And I just remember the Paul's drums just would not stay still. So he was playing and moving the drums, and I'd never seen a band that looked so unbelievably physical, sort of like he was operating this bizarre machine, you know, like, and they just, I loved them from the first time I saw them. And so I've they were putting stuff out with other labels to start with, and then we're good friends. So I've released their last 2 albums,
Yeah.
and they're working on the new one right now. So that we're going off to record that in Wales with Wayne from Bear Bites Horse, and that's going to be something special. And I just hope I can get it out to more people, because they're definitely a kind of underappreciated band.
I think so too. I bought the record probably from you at Samples. I bought the record because I knew of them, like they were a name at a certain point. They are not extremely visible, but at that time they were,
Yeah.
At the time of the last Samples, they were kind of hitting their stride, I think. So yeah, I bought the record because, just like you say, of the physicality of that gig at Samples too.
That was great.
Yeah, that entire festival. I remember we went with like a small group. It was one of the best weekends ever, and then they announced the following year, and I still kind of remember it was a big Territory Possessions band, like Ufos was going to play, and I don't know who else, but it was going to be an insane lineup. But then it just disappeared all of a sudden. I think
it never happened again, right? Yeah.
Something went very wrong there. But yeah. Where are we? Yeah, the releases. The last thing you did was the Parish record.
Yeah, Parish. That 12. That's just a joy. That was a band. It's just exactly what I want here at the shop. Is like a local band. I knew Tom, the bass player, a little bit from his previous band, Sage, and they were good, but it wasn't quite my thing. A bit more sort of hard rock. Yeah, it was good. I saw them in a pub, and I found them really charming. But I knew Tom, and I'd see him around all the time at gigs and stuff like that. And then so I was in the right place for when they first put up, like they'd recorded 2 songs and put up a Bandcamp demo and just sent it to some friends on Facebook, and I saw it, spoke to them the same day, and was like, let's do something with this. And they were one of the first bands where I booked the studio for the recording, really did the man with the big cigar shit, and that recording studio is downstairs.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Yeah, so that's called Holy Mountain Studios, run by Misha Herrin, and so
where they got
the whole thing.
I wonder where they got the name.
Parish? Oh, Holy Mountain. Oh, yeah. So that was really nice. So it was like, it really felt like a Crypt production, because it was recorded downstairs. And that band, man, I mean, they were so like tight already as a demo band. They went in there, recorded the whole thing in no time at all. It was almost half of its first takes. It was just so precise and fantastic. And that was such a pleasure. And then that came out on the label, and that has had an amazing response. And a lot of other labels have tried to sign them, but we are doing an album, and they're going to stick with the Crypt for that. So that's really exciting.
It's such a sweet sound they have. It's like that. It's like a bit old school doom.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's 70s prog. I hear a bit in there sometimes, and yeah, it's one of the records I should look into or delve into deeper.
Yeah, there's a good Witchfinder General sound in there for sure. And for me, I mean, obviously people compare them to Black Sabbath, which is easily done but a little lazy. And actually, there's I think Witchfinder General is a nice point, but also bands like Forest, who are those kind of weird folk proggy bands, something slightly unsettling. And then the other band is Witch Hazel, that people compare them to modern bands. And there's definitely something there in terms, but it's more of an aesthetic almost. But hopefully they're going to do a tour together at some point. We've talked about it a lot. And Green Lung as well, like Parish a lot. So they've booked them for support. But I think Parish could do really, really well. So I'm excited for the record.
Green Lung, is that the band on Cyclopean?
Svart.
Or
at least Svart now. I'm not. Maybe there was they were on a different label first, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I kind of link into that Iron Age Eternal Champion scene. So I don't know. Maybe they were on Cyclopean. The last thing label wise is this one. Heavy Set. This one's coming out. This is the one that got me noticing that you had a label, the Bang to Rights album. It says debut album out now, but I think it's mid-May, maybe.
Does it say that?
Yeah, it says it. That's why I don't think
it's true. It's not out now. I didn't design that one. Yeah, yes, unfortunately, we've got a little setback at the pressing plant. I think everyone does. So it will be out and out. The CD version is got picked up by Dying Victim, so they're doing that. That will probably be out sooner than the vinyl. The pre-orders are still up, but it's a great record, and they're a great band. Heavy Sentence, another, when I first saw them, it's like, it's like Saxon doing Motorhead covers. It's like proper heavy metal. But I think as I got to know them, I found something more in there that is slightly more diverse. But again, it was like, this is the sort of band that this shop should be releasing as a label. And what I would love to be able to primarily focus on is UK bands doing really good heavy metal. And
are they local too?
No, they're from the UK. They're Manchester is sort of the centre of where they are, but they're all from kind of around that area, and they play such good shows. There's also some crossover members with Woad and Aggressive Perfector. So we have put on some great shows with that lot, and like I say, the record's an absolute ripper. I've been working on it with them for a while now. It's sort of taking its time, so I'm very excited for that to finally come out.
Rock yourself up and throw away the key.
We love a pun in England. We can't help ourselves.
Yeah, I heard one track that was on the YouTube, I think on their YouTube page or something.
Yeah,
great stuff. And the artwork is made. The artwork kind of reminds me of like stuff Rise Above did, but then
yeah. Tin Savage, who did the art, is he's actually from East London. He's a local lad to here, and he does a lot for a lot of hardcore bands. So Brian, the drummer from Heavy Sentence, is also in Rat Cage, who are on La Vida and Mus. And so there's a bit of a crossover into the hardcore scene with that band as well. So you can hear it in the drumming.
Yeah, but I love the way you do the crossover, because the shirt's in the laundry because I've been wearing it. I've been out wearing it. That's a Nicky Rat design, right? The punk.
Yeah, Nicky is a sort of in-house artist and Saturday staff member. So he works here, but he also, every time I need art, I'm like, Nicky, fuck, draw me a skull, quick. I need something. And then but he just turns up so much good artwork for me, so it often ends up on shirts.
Did he do the logo too?
No, I drew that.
Okay. Because a lot of people, when I do these videos, you have the top is in the frame, and everybody was commenting like, "Hey, what's the shirt? What's the band? What's the?" And I was like, "It's Crypt of the Wizard." And then when I showed the bottom side, they were like, "It's like a big ass metal magic logo," and then you have that punk bed. So a lot of people were confused, I think. But I love the shirt.
I love it. I mean, I was inspired by the Saarland sort of metal logos, those really ineptly drawn ones, and I was like, well, if I want to do something like that, I need to find someone who can't draw, and I realized I can't draw, so I thought, perfect, I'll draw it, and I did it first go. It came out all right. So,
yeah, it looks insane. But the difference in, not in styles maybe, but just I knew it was two different artists, because I knew it wasn't in the catalog of Nicky Rat to draw such a logo.
Yeah. I love doing all the merch and stuff. It was a big part of the shop. The first shirt we had for the old shop was Branca Studios did it, and very kindly they approached us and said, "We just want to help you out." They were riding such a wave in that moment.
Yeah,
they did us that shirt, and we sold 1 million of those shirts. I mean, it really kept the shop going. Those shirts. But again, a bit like with music, I like to push things forward all the time, and so people want me to repress those shirts, but I don't want to. I want to always be doing new stuff, and
buy the other one. It's perfect.
yeah, exactly. So that I sometimes do a couple of little represses if people really want them, whatever. But once they're done, they're sort of done, and I'm trying to constantly commission new artists to do stuff, and so I've got a few at the moment waiting for artwork for artists. Can take a while.
Or shirts and stuff.
Yeah, but artists are There's so many brilliant artists, but there's sometimes they can be a bit slow.
The procrastination is real.
But yeah, I've got quite a few coming. I like to have like a backlog, so there's a few in the pipeline.
Yeah, you can. You still have the long sleeves, the last one?
Yeah, I think so. In some sizes, I have to do a stock check.
I'll take a large if you have one.
Okay, I'll try and remember. I'll write that down somewhere.
I'll just send. Yeah, that label and shop wise, I think we went through it all. The real reason I contacted you is because Gao from Red King Records
Yeah.
put up on Instagram that I was looking for the new Carved Cross because it's one of those records that if you are not there at that time, if you have the cash to get it from Australia,
Yeah.
you have. If not, you're fucked because it's on Discogs for like 100 euros. So Gao contacted me and he said like, hey, I know a shop in London that probably will get some stock. And I was like, a shop in London, what would that be? So it was Crypt of the Wizard, of course. So you hooked me up with that one, and that was going to be the order. But then I have some distros or some shops that do the same stuff you do for me, just keep some stuff together. So I save something and you get rid of some inventory. So yeah, the Carved Cross, the embittered, it's the Ashes was the first one. Started to talk about. Thank you for that one. But then it quickly became clear to me that because I kind of lost, not contact, but I knew everything from the last shop, but I didn't see everything from the new shop. And then I quickly realized that, damn, everything in stock is kind of what I'm into and kind of what I like. So we started talking about Cold Beach, one of the pure UK, yeah, those two. I can probably do a bit more close up. This is the Old Rich, if I'm not mistaken. Old Rich. And then this is Odious Hiss. What first came to what the visuals struck immediately, of course, with the Obi strips that they have, the most crust Obi strips in the world. It's like Obi strip in the front, strings in the back, which I mean, it piqued my interest as a record collector, of course. I would say, label-wise, I don't know if there was a better one-two punch to come out of the gate. These releases are, to my ear, to what I like, to my liking, are incredible releases. The Odious Hiss is maybe a bit more raw, but the Alt Rich is just a expensive record on all fronts. There is some raw material on there, but the production is very different from the Odious.
I just lost you for 1 second. The big truck went past.
Big truck. Do you know anything more about the label? Because they are not
hard to know what's going on. I mean, I got contacted, and then you just sort of go from there. Obviously, there's a big desire for a lot of those kind of labels to stay anonymous because it keeps it interesting. I have some suspicions, but really, they just came out with these 2 records and contacted me about running some of the distribution, saying that they weren't going to do direct sales. I think it's a lot to manage for a lot of people. So I know they've got me and Legion Blowtown, Stoic Strength doing distro here. I think a few other places as well. And then elsewhere, there's they had distro in the US through Analog Worship.
Oh yeah, of course.
Which is great. And then where else
sort of up on New Era, I think, and I think something like Iron Bone had probably had some copies too.
Probably, yeah. So it got out there really fast, and it just felt like it just came out of nowhere. But the UK scene that they're tapping into does feel particularly vibrant at the moment, which is saying something. There's definitely been moments in the past where there's been a lot going on, but it's usually very, very concentrated. Whereas I think the idea, it looks like, but from what I can see, is that they're trying to pull from various different scenes and find one sort of place for it. And the other thing, I guess, is that those releases had been out on tape in like minuscule pressings.
Yeah,
so
they are.
The idea
especially the Odious Hiss is on
Watching it,
Watching Pit, yeah.
which is not a label. It
No,
says
it's more
everything. This is
yeah,
not a label.
it's not a label.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not a label. It's more of a group that goes wandering into the nature of
Yeah.
the North Lowlands regions. Um,
Yeah, it's a hiking community.
Hiking community that does incredible music. Hutch and Pit is more tape releases, so I guess the Cold Beach side is the final chapter. Yeah, like you said, the vibrance in the UK scene at this moment is because there was a time that it wasn't visible. The entire UK black metal in general, I would say. I was looking back today because I was trying to make a root structure or where it started, what was happening, and of course, the first thing you find when you give in UK black metal is Venom black metal.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought you were going to say a much uglier name then. Yeah, but you know,
What
I
was
mean,
that name?
you know, I'm a Venom fan, man. Like, you know, Venom are they are fundamental, and they encapsulate everything that's good about UK metal and black metal in general, which is this beautiful tightrope walk between absolute stupidity and dead serious aggression, and you know, and the fact that people were sort of fearful of Venom at some point in history is hilarious because
Hard to imagine.
they're just such like they're just such comic characters,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so for me that's the balance that I love. You know, I mean and then the assumption is that the Swedes and the Norwegians saw them and went, wow, this is really serious, and they didn't quite get the humorous side of it or whatever. They didn't appreciate it, so they just did it for real, right? And look at what that created. But
They have the no fun side, I think.
but yeah, no, I thought you were going to talk about Cradle of Filth, but I mean, there's literally a band I can't even talk about. I don't know anything about them.
We're not going to talk about Cradle of Filth, but I kind of think they make the jump from you have Venom in '82 and it goes on
They
and on and
bridged the
on.
gap.
I think the other biggest name around '95, maybe a little bit earlier, but I think '95, '94 was Principle of Evil.
Uh-huh.
I think visually or visibly for other people, I think that's the next big chapter in UK black metal. I don't know there are tons of bands probably in between a Venom and a Cradle of Filth, but
I don't know. I mean, if you really wanted like I say, I'm not an encyclopedia of this sort of stuff. I just know what I'm into. But like, if you really wanted a good potted history, someone like Dale Patterson would be brilliant to talk to because this is his bread and butter. But for me, it was like, you know, it's like British football. We invented football and then never win at it. You know, I think we've won the World Cup once.
yeah,
When the World Cup started, England didn't enter because they thought it would be unfair on the other countries because we were too good. And it's a bit like that with I feel like Venom accidentally invented black metal, and then, you know, for a very long time there has been nothing from that tree to speak of. But I mean, I do think for me, Cradle of Filth poisoned the well a bit, really, because I know they've got their fans. When I first got into black metal, I was at high school
mhm.
in the early '90s, and I was listening to stuff that had I mean, I'd been into metal, and then I'd kind of got into what was more interesting at that time. Some local drug addicts walking past the shop, and it's quite an exciting street to be on. And then, you know, I got into sort of more noisy stuff and some more punk stuff and underground stuff, and really thought I was out there listening to really underground music.
Yeah.
And then there were these kids at my school who were all with their dyed black hair and shit, and they were right there at the early wave listening to black metal and sending off for tapes to Norway, to Helvet and all this stuff. And they were really ahead of the curve with that stuff, and they were playing it to me, and I just thought it was absolute fucking shit. And then eventually someone played me Death Crush, and that was different, because to me that was like a punk record at the time, and I just thought it was incredible. And that really kind of got me interested. So, but then they were really into Cradle of Filth. That was their main band, and they had their own band called Cyanide. And I remember going to see Cyanide play, and the bass player decided to quit a couple of days before the gig. So the singer's mum stood in on bass, and there were all these, like, 12, 13-year-old kids in full corpse paint, and the singer's mum, God bless her, she dressed up for it, leather skirt and fishnets and stuff, playing bass, and that was
Where is that now?
yeah, where is that?
I love
Everyone had a camera, unfortunately, but they that was
anecdote that they that when you opened the shop, they made a Facebook account to call you a poser.
Right. And exactly, I've told that story before, and that's exactly what happened. The singer literally started a Facebook account, which he's now deleted, just so he could tell me I was a fucking poser, because he remembers when I didn't like metal, or black metal at least. So fair enough, he's not wrong.
We're going to do a contract episode with Peter about the word poser.
Excellent, yeah.
Talk about
I am a false, definitely. But there you are, like, so to me, like I say, Cradle of Filth kind of poisoned the well, because they were so iconically the UK black metal band. To me, there was nothing particularly, nothing about their aesthetic or their music that talked about where they were from, and so much of black metal does do that very well. And
I think for them the success was the fact that they had those gothic overtones and those. I mean, you can see Cradle of Filth go on tour with Type O Negative, maybe they. I'm not saying I'm a fan. I don't know. Actually, don't know any of their records. Just a few here and there, but you can see why and how they got so big.
Sure, it's just not for me. I mean, anyone likes it, that's fine. I mean, I like plenty of stuff that is not, for other people, but it's not for me at all, and it wasn't for me then, and it isn't now. But I do think it to some degree, it meant that anyone making black metal from the UK after that would be working against that.
Yeah.
And I got interested in UK black metal much later, because for me I wasn't looking to the UK, and there was certainly stuff happening, but I wasn't looking for it, and you had to be looking. It wasn't just like it is now, where you can click and figure it out. You had to be in communication with the right people. There was a great record shop in Soho called Selector Disc, and one of the dudes that worked there was into black metal, and that was like my lifeline, was going to him and him educating me constantly. But it was hard.
What piqued my interest was, again, Go to War did a Hecate Enthroned, I think is
Hecate Enthroned, yeah.
They re-released the Upon Promethean Shores, and that was because like I said in the last contract, I have been into the first wave. I listened to all of that. I listened to the second wave, and now my focus is slightly shifting to early 90s to the 2000s. What happened there, and they are smack in that period. So I think there is a lot to discover. But like you said, the Cradle of Filth wings were so big that a lot of other things got lost.
But I started getting more interested, like, again, with like you're pulling out records, so I'm going to do the same thing. With like when bands like Sump and White Metal started popping up, and then I realized, like, looking at Legion Blowtown and Stoic Strength stuff.
Do you know what time period that is? Is that mid 2000s or earlier?
Early mid 2000s. But I'm trying, when it started versus when I figured it out that it existed, I was probably a bit late, much later to it than that. But it was just a really homegrown sound, and looking at like UK Oi bands and sort of doing a black metal version of that, then the White Metal, which thematically, in content, in lyrics, and in sound, very much sounded like it came from here. Like the new White Metal album, I think it's fantastic, and it really has something of the UK about it, and very specifically the part of the UK he's from is a massive influence. So there's the whole Yorkshire thing is very, very central to it. The Wadre Mysteria stuff as well. There's tons of stuff around that label and that scene that is really it does what I want UK black metal to do, and I feel like people like Hotch and Pitt have looked very close at that, and they've grown up listening to that stuff, and then now a sort of new generation of people doing it. And I think that really you can look at the sort of all the stuff that came before, but for me the wellspring that is of interest to UK black metal probably comes from there.
For me, same for me. Just because of the fact that I am into that niche of black metal, I think Legion Blotan, and like I said, the white. I listened to the white metal again today just because it's such an incredible record. The bass drum sound alone is worth putting it up again. Yeah, I think those. Yeah, if I look back and just not looking on Google or anything, if I can, what I remember, that's the first thing I know. Okay, black metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, and then again, we talked about Hodge and Pitt, but also Old Ridge, which he's part of an organization of bands, I think, called the Hermetic Order of Yente, and that refers to the part of the UK he's from as well. And then, so there's Old Ridge and there's Albionic Hermeticism.
I was going to write it down, but please send it to me.
We can talk. And then there's the stuff that's coming out of Wales as well, which the absolutely unpronounceable business.
Oh my God. Okay, let me try.
Oh.
Die Jinklut Herhen Avogion?
I mean, better you than me, man.
Yeah, this one.
Yes, exactly, that one, yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of bands with that. Ask a friend how it's pronounced, because it's insanity. Yeah, this kind of gripped me just because of the color scheme of the cover, and I just went with it. The picture looks a bit like Beherit, just the cutout. They have the same picture, but yeah, this is from Wales, you say?
I believe so, yeah. I could be entirely wrong, but for some reason that's what my brain's telling me. And it came out on Void.
A German label, I know, but
Void.
Yeah, sorry, Void. Yes,
but it's kind of slightly comic as well, because the Welsh language is understood by the rest of the UK to be ridiculous, long, unpronounceable, and unwieldy. So it would be fitting if that is right, which I believe it is. But so I feel like all those bands are going to owe a debt to Stoic Strength and the bands that have come from there. So Legion Blowtown, I always say Stoic Strength is the distro, Legion Blowtown the label, and hopefully it continues to grow in this way. There's also Torn Mod that is London based, that's come out on Tour de Garde, and that's a bit more in the sort of Iljani world of things. Although I'd say one of the things that seems to run through a lot of it is programmed drums through a lot of the stuff, and I like programmed drums a lot when they're played to sound like programmed drums.
Yeah.
Although it's amazing how sophisticated they're getting, especially on like a hissy, like raw demo. You probably wouldn't tell the difference anymore. But
I get
it's really doing that kind of Iljani drum sound. I recently found a copy of the Sort Vodka record as well. I don't know if you got a copy of that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Is that in shop or is that in your bin?
This is my bin. And the drum sound on that thing is just wild, and it does something to me. I just love it. And yeah, so something like and I know a lot of bands from a lot of countries pull from that, but there's something with the Tormod stuff that really works.
Actually, I just found out about Tormod today. I know he has 4 tapes, but I just checked it out today.
Sorry, I'm just handing. I've got someone in here pricing records. I've just got to give him some more equipment for doing that. Yeah, so that's another thing. So so I think that, like I say, they all look from that place, and I'm hoping it just continues to fester and grow because it feels like there are things popping up all the time. I'm trying to remember the name of another project that has just sort of lifted off as well with a demo on Nistang, but it's just not quite coming to my mind right now. But you never know, it might do at some point.
Also, a label that for me gave UK a lot of visibility was a Death Cult.
Yeah, definitely. Uh,
Something like Revenant.
and this is our UK bands, right?
Most of it are, I think. I think 90% maybe like Revenant Marquee. I know there's one Canadian band, the purple one. Is it names? I'm blanking on names, but it's not 100% UK, but he has a lot of UK stuff, like the Revenant.
Lamp Murmur is the thing that people probably most know him for, but the yeah, I stock all their stuff, and I think going forward, he asked if I want to start stocking some really rare stuff from them, but can only be in store, some test pieces and all that sort of stuff. So I think I will. I mean, they've been a really nice label to deal with.
Yeah, I've been talking to Dan for quite a while now, and he's just a gem of a man. So
yeah,
I don't want to go on this diatribe again, but I think a lot of people are giving labels like him a lot of flack just because of the limitation and the fact that his releases are on Discogs for tenfold the price that they go for. But once again, people, it's not his fault. It's the people on Discogs.
When I did my interview with Danny, I think he made it extremely clear, and I think but it bears repeating, is that what people do not understand is how much space 1,000 records takes up.
How much work it takes to send out 1,000 records.
It's incredible, but how much space you need if you've got 3 or 4 parallel releases and you are printing 500 of each release, let's say, the amount of space that takes up, people cannot conceive of. And Danny, for example, when he was in his old Go Warwick's building, if you ever saw it, it was very, very small. My shop is very, very, very small. So this idea that people are doing limitations just because they think it's going to make money on discos is crazy. They records take up physical space, and a lot of it very quickly. And secondly, it's always a risk when you press a record. I'm sorry, I keep getting beeping, but I'm getting emails left, right, and center.
Nice.
It's always a risk when you release a record. No matter how popular the first pressing was, you never know how popular the second one is, or the third press, or the fourth press. And so these people who moan constantly about it are spoiling the scene. I really feel that they are. The constant complaining is detrimental to the scene actually being a productive place, and I wish they would all shut up. Go and moan somewhere else. I just don't. I'm too old to publicly moan on the internet. I find it embarrassing, but maybe it's just second nature to younger people. But I don't. No one looks good complaining on the internet.
No.
It's not a good look.
I try to look. You miss records. That's how it goes. I try to. I mean, I missed the Carved Cross, and I met you. So I try to give it positive shit only.
That's the thing, and it doesn't. It's not that hard to find things, and sometimes you just have to pay the price for them. Like there's records that I've paid too much money for. My wife's not going to watch this, so I can show you. But I just spent way too much money on this.
Sacrifice. Okay. Was it on Discogs or just in a shop? No, it was on Discogs.
No, it was from a shop. It was from a shop. I did a little deal with them, and but I just wanted it. I've listened since I bought it, so
I'm not going to ask for price, but isn't it? I mean, let's say you spent 150. That's way over the top, but let's
say that because that sounds fine to me.
Okay, let's say 150, but doesn't it? I mean, tomorrow when you walk into the shop, you're thinking about that record, and it's
no, unfortunately not. I'm thinking about the next record that I want, unfortunately, but there you are.
positive about our sickness, but yeah, sometimes you have to
I'm loading a pricing gun while we speak now.
making some of that money back.
exactly. But and it's fine. At the end of the day, you can't take it with you. You might as well just enjoy what you can while you can. But I just wish people wouldn't get so. I wish people wouldn't be so hostile about it. I do not appreciate people being rude to me on my Discogs page or over email, whatever. And people are. And you know what? People aren't rude to me in the shop.
No, that's the difference between internet and real life. No
Yep.
one going to.
I mean, I had an argument with someone about a Tool record once in here, or why I didn't have it, why I didn't stock it, and a friend of mine was here to witness that, and it was a bit embarrassing. He makes fun of me still for it, but at the end of the day, I've had almost no negative interactions with people in the physical shop because people don't do that. People are polite and they talk to you and they understand.
The biggest difference is on the internet, you won't get smacked in the face if you talk too much shit.
Yeah. I mean, you probably won't in here either, but you never know.
Never know. The wizard could
whilst being interviewed on the internet. Let's see.
You'll probably cast a spell on them instead of.
Yeah, I send my witches. Yeah. So but yeah, there's the limitations thing is really there's a material factor to it that I think people miss again because they're on the internet and they forget that things take up real space in real life and cost real money and cost a lot of energy and work and really it's just not worth getting upset about. There's no way. There seems to be a couple of people who do seem to get a copy of every single record that is released, but I'm not one of those people. It's not possible to keep up.
It's budget wise or just mental. It's not not worth
sure.
it. Yeah, I always to people complaining like that. I always say, hey, start your own label, give it a half year, and we'll talk again because
sure.
Just carrying those. We did with hypertension. We do Amen Ra, and every Mass 4 release since it ever came out has been sent from this basement, and that's quite a lot of records. So
yeah,
carrying those from the basement and back up the basement and posting them, it's insanity.
Yeah, tell me about it. It's rush hour now, so the angry beepers are going to be. I don't know if you can hear that.
We just hit the 1 hour mark, so I'm not going to take too much more of your time. But is there something in the shop that you would like to highlight? Maybe we talked about your releases, but just something that you have been spinning or into very much.
Well, I've just shown you a couple of things for sure. The Wagner Odegaard that came out last year, third pressing now. That's the Altair version.
What's this?
The Wagner Odegaard record
came
out last year. That's still fantastic. That's going on quite a lot still. I thought the Obrock was very good.
Yeah.
I like the Valhalla Bound stuff from Bestial Burst is always killer. Some great Earthfaust reissues. I love those Friedhof records that Narvantage put out. They're loopy. They are, and I've been selling copies to some people who are not into metal, which has been nice. It's always good to open up to some new kind of customers who are into weird shit. But nice occulted Death Stance tapes, Psycut Slave tapes, all from Fallow Field. Been listening to those quite a lot. What else is good? This is my private stash. Not actually hit the shop yet, but Slutet and then the 2 Wagner Odegaards that Goethe Warwicks have just put out are just phenomenal. Really, he's done such a nice job with those.
Like for me, right? Charlie?
Yes.
You have those aside for me, right? The Slutet and the Wagner?
Oh, mate, we can talk later.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I got. Man, the Heroin Makes Happy box set.
Okay.
Have you seen this thing?
Well, I have the Hallenvacht, so I know it's quite quite mental, but that one is a step above mental.
I love it. It's fantastic. It makes me happy. Yeah.
I did-
But yeah, so there's always good stuff. And like I said, I try and keep it busy. And there's certain people I'm always going to get stuff in from. So it's. I just make myself happy more than anything else. Get the stuff I want, and then hopefully there's people to follow me there. It's gotten a load of stuff from Asra, from Final Agony. But yeah, I mean, I'm having some trouble with a few places that I usually get stuff from because of Brexit. There's been a lot of problems getting stuff in from some countries, which is really frustrating, and it's definitely going to have an effect on pricing because I'm starting to get customs fees from parcels from Europe now, which I didn't used to. Although amazingly, I've not been getting any customs fees on my US parcels, so maybe it'll balance out a little bit. But
I kind of lucked out with your or lucked out. We discussed how to approach the order, but I just had to pay like an import tax of 10, and then
there's a few tricks of the trade to try and keep it down, but everything's a guess right now. Like we just see, we'll just find out. Hopefully, it will all settle down eventually. But
it's spread for a while when it was in transit because it passed customs in England and then it went to Holland for some reason. So I thought it was
all my US parcels. At some point, for a while I was getting a notification saying they were in Japan, and I didn't understand why. And of course, it was because of the boat blocking the Suez Canal, so everything was going the other way around. So I was like, "How the fuck is this in Japan? Oh no! Like it's a disaster." But I've got, I think, a lot of people who enjoy this working in this business have an app called Track 17 or 17 Track, which is you can keep all your tracking numbers in one place.
oh, okay, that's
It's
perfect.
like the first thing I check every day. Danny from GoatWorks told me about it, so that's a good tip.
That's a good tip. I don't have that much orders going on right now, so thank God.
I won't show you my list.
Yeah. In closing, we would be remiss to not talk about Lugubrium. Have you heard the new track, and how excited are you for the new one?
I'm very excited. I haven't listened to the new one yet because I'm kind of waiting for the whole thing. I was told there were a lot of farts on the new record.
A lot of farts.
Yeah. Peter told me that there were 100 farts. Yeah. So, but I'm extremely excited. New Lugubrium's always a good thing. I was introduced to the band by a very close friend not that long ago, really. I kind of was amiss. I mean, maybe within the last sort of 6-7 years, and quickly sort of devoured everything. I've got, good early pressings of almost everything you can get on vinyl. I think the Vet Cookin is the one I listen to the most still. I've got a perfect. I bought a mint perfect edition of that, and the guy who sent it to me didn't pack it properly, so it's got a bit of a corner bend. But that aside, it is a perfect record. I absolutely love that. I think Albino de Congo was the first album of theirs I really, really dug. But they for me are they're the perfect band, really. They do everything I need. So the last record came from out of the blue a little bit for me. It wasn't what I was expecting. Really enjoyed it. So I don't know what direction the new one's going in.
I think because it's the Brown Throne, now it's the Brown Crown. I think it's not a rehashing of the first album in any way, but I think they have some more black metal tinted sounds on there. If the first track gives it away a bit, it's more that direction, more than the trap beat French.
Yeah.
French chanson they did on the last one. So I don't know. Maybe it's one track in that style, and then the rest is who knows.
I know I'm going to be excited and surprised, and they. But yeah, for me, that sort of level of experimentation, the early black metal stuff obviously is great, but you realize how early on they were pushing things in a really strange direction.
When I started delving into them for the video I did with you, and it was that it was so early on. It was 9 for insane.
Well, which sort of tells you something about black metal as well as a genre, that it always had this capacity to be quite an avant-garde or experimental art form, and continues to be as much as sort of orthodox as so many people within that scene are, so authoritarian and so risk averse and wanting everything to be a certain way, and that certainly feels like it's a lot of feedback you get in the black metal scene. And then, but it's also capable of being very, very obscure underground music. And Lugubrum, people like Lugubrum. They're not within the black metal scene a complete unknown quantity. They are,
which is weird.
yeah,
Yeah, which is very weird. I love the two. I love the dogmatic, straightforward. This is black metal. Fuck the rest. And I love something like Lugubu more. The more out there, spacious, experimental stuff.
that's what's always interesting is the contradictions and the sort of yin and yang of all these sides. And I'm not one way or the other, but when something works for me, it works, and that's it really. I don't know what to say. I mean, something like Iljan is a good example again of in places it's quite out there, it's quite avant-garde, and not standard fare in any way, shape, or form, but it is massively appreciated by quite a mainstream black metal audience. Yeah. So there's something in there that someone else is maybe hearing differently to me. For me, it's quite experimental and avant-garde. For other people, I guess it touches on those points of pure aggression and noise and whatever. But
I think it's a combination of the pure minimalism and the pure aggression that it's like white heat just blast out. And I can't say that I know them too long, but I did a massive overhaul in their discography, and it's just like I got the neat talk from you, and the one that you just showed. It is everything I've been listening to, because mostly my listening experience is going back, because I haven't been into it that long. I think maybe 12 years now into the black metal, so I'm always going back. But my entire listening experience in the last 10 years, I would say, is going back to stuff like Iljarn, and stuff like that. Just the minimalistic, everything that comes after the second wave, I would say.
Another real central column for me that holds up the orb of black metal is Ride for Revenge. They for me again they pretty much do everything I need, and they just do it over and over and over again. The discrepancy between albums is somewhat tonal, or although of course there are some sort of noisier projects as well within it, or records within it. I'm happy for them to do that repetitive drum sound over and over again forever. I could listen to it ad infinitum. The aggression, the weirdness, but again, it does both things. It's that simplicity and that aggression that really produce just unbelievable records, and some of their more recent records are my favorites by them. I still think they're a band with a long way to go in some respects, even though their discography is repetitive.
Yeah, I think at the root of the music, it's maybe the minimalism and the aggression that just those two components are there. You probably have a black metal record on your hands.
Yeah, I realize when I think about it, what I like is when someone does something stupid and then does it again. That's my taste in music. Just idiocy and repetition, because I'm also, I also like really good cheesy heavy metal. I mean, my favorite music festival that will ever exist is Muscle Rock. Going out to Muscle Rock I've been for 10 years going out to this festival where some of the bands that play are absolutely absurd, sort of cheesy heavy metal bands, and that's a big part of where I came from and what I love about the genre. Everyone from Thor to Helvetus Port, and I had my first Thor record when I was about 11, I think, found in a charity shop. And when I was standing with my arm around him 35 years later, it was a big moment for me. I love all that stuff, and that's still at the core of what I like. And again, it's a admixture of ridiculousness and aggression.
It's part of the tapestry, of course.
Yeah. So, talking of which, I just got. Have you heard this on the Expansion Abyss?
No.
Ravenlord, that good again. That great. It's like heavy metal, black metal. That's a genre for me that when done right is near perfect. I think when a band like Slag did their first 12 on Iron Bonehead, the Beautiful and the Damned one, where it was this fusion of Nwabum and black metal, and I was like, that's it. That's for me. Gabe Stock, that record has got a bit of that in it, and I've been listening to that a lot. I've got copies coming. I can't wait.
I was playing it when I shut it down to talk to you.
Yeah, right. That's fantastic. Again, I think the Danish scene gets given a real hard time. I don't know what everyone's so mean about all the Corpse Sound Circle and Sled and all that. Not only those people quite close friends over the years, but some fantastic stuff has come out of those scenes. Really brilliant musicians. Say that again, sorry?
I never heard anybody talk bad about Corpse Sound.
Well, there was a thing that happened at a Corpse Sound gig, which involved the guy from Darker Than Black, and there was a thing that happened. So you could Google it, I'm sure. And people decided that Corpse Sound were bad and were kind of mean about them. And then Slag got a lot of flack for being too good looking, I think, was mostly the issue. But they
will get.
Yeah, exactly. Domus Mysterium is one of my favorite contemporary metal albums. I think that record is flawless. I got to spend a lot of time with the band and seeing them live and stuff like that, and they're just great people making great music. And the Corpse Sound Circle is a similar scene. There's some real genuinely brilliant musicians with some great ideas and nice people doing all that stuff, so everyone else can fuck off for being false. It's a good scene out there in Denmark. And the Gabe Stock thing totally came from nowhere for me, but I know half the people in the band. I didn't even know it existed. I'm so impressed. There's nothing like having talented friends. I mean, I can't do anything.
From the first compilation they put out, I've been following. I mean, I dare you to name a band out of that roster that sucks. I dare you.
No, for sure. Yeah, that comp is fantastic. Yeah, the Natatali stuff has been a really good discography.
The main thing I've been listening to now is, of course, the Gaapstok and the Eierker. I don't know how to pronounce it. Those dungeons. Check them out. You'll
You have to show me. I can't. I've literally no understanding of the words you're saying to me right now.
Yeah, it's because it's an AE and then AE combined and then.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you mean. Okay, yeah. They're really hard when you run a record shop. Where are you supposed to fucking put that in the alphabet? You got to make your own section. Yeah.
Together with Nima from Tool, I guess. All right. Following on the heels of this will probably be the update where I show all the stuff I got from you, because it was quite an insane box. But I didn't show too much records because we talked about hour and a half.
I talk too much, man. You just have to tell me.
No. That doesn't happen on this channel. You were perfect. Thank you very much. Charlie, thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing this. And we'll probably talk tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do another one sometime. It was a real pleasure talking to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Cheers, man.